My name is Derek, and I'm going to play for you the whole Advent section of the Lutheran Book of Worship, published in 1978 for the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. I decided to do this project as an organist myself because it occurs to me that there may be some organists out there who are reluctant organists, who are pianists who have been impressed by their pastor or another family member to take the job of playing the organ in a Lutheran church. And it could probably be helpful to hear what these hymns in the Advent section of the LBW sound like before you attempt to play them for parishioners. What you heard me playing at the outset was number 38, O Savior, Rend the Heavens Wide. So if I may now, I'll start at the beginning of the Advent section and I'll play through each one of the hymns in the Advent section with limited commentary, but sometimes if you know me, you know I can't resist myself when it comes to commentary, and I may say a few words about some of the selections. If you found this type of thing helpful, if you found this video helpful, I will continue the rest of the series, eventually recording just in time for Christmas, the Christmas section and Epiphany sections, and then work my way through the general and other sections of this Lent and Easter sections of this particular hymnal. Just a quick word about the Lutheran Book of Worship and then a quick word about me, and then we'll begin. The Lutheran Book of Worship is a collection of mainly Germanic and English hymns, some of which have traditional harmonizations, but some of which have gentle reharmonizations, and in the case of a couple hymns, they have outright flamboyant or avant-garde reharmonizations in the style. And in fact, there's a hymn in this hymnal harmonized by Vincent Persichetti. No kidding. So this hymnal was quite a noble effort in the late 1970s, and at the time the effort was undertaken by both the Missouri Synod Lutheran and the ELCA Lutheran sects. However, at the last minute, it's my understanding that the Missouri Synod Lutherans broke away from the project. That may not be true, but that was the gossip at the time when this hymnal came out. Now, just a note about myself, I am a career musician, a career organist. I began this calling, if you will, at age 14 as a substitute organist in Montgomery, Alabama. I was an organ student of Harold Rolig. He was at Huntington College. And at age 14, I began filling in just very, very occasionally. But I would go to the church. By filling in at that church, I was given a key, and that allowed me access to the little pipe organ. It was a little pipe organ. It was a 9.5 rank Zimmer. It was a 9.5 rank Hans Zimmer, if you remember that organ builder. He built a lot of smaller organs in Lutheran churches. Now, because of what they call unification and duplexing, the organ had a ton of stops on it. It had a full swell and a full grate and a full pedal board, all out of 9.5 ranks of pipes. It was great fun to play too, and I really enjoyed it. At age 16, I got my first big job at a different Lutheran church in Montgomery, Alabama, and I have never quit playing since then. And now I am the organist heard on the Eternal Word television network, working for the Catholics, as I have since I was 28 years old. So anyway, this is my dog Commando. Chances are you'll hear him and see him because he likes to come in and bother me. He is a Doberman Pinscher, a brown Doberman, a floppy-eared Doberman. You want to show everybody your pretty face? There he is. There's his handsome face. Okay, without further ado, let's start this project. I'm going to go to page 22 in the Advent section. You've got to let me record. This is the Advent of our God. Again, I'll play both. I'll play the hymns twice using different registrations. Okay, baby, excuse me. sing him now with a different registration and with some slight ornamentation, some passing tones. Okay, on to number 23. O Lord, how shall I meet you? Number 24, this one is very interesting. I like this hymn a lot. I'm adding some fermatas at the end of the first and second lines, but I'm continuing in the third line as if there were no break in it. This is number 24, Come, O Precious Ransom. This is another nice hymn. 25 and 26 are perfect for the third week of Advent, where the larger church, the Church Universal, celebrates Rejoicing Sunday. The idea of Rejoicing Sunday goes all the way back to the monastic period. The monastic period, also known as the Middle Ages or the medieval period, was a time when the monasteries flourished. Many young men and women entered monasteries, and it was in the monasteries that the educational values continued. And it was in the monasteries where all kinds of discoveries. You'll remember hearing about Gregor Mendel, right? That discovery of genetics took place in a monastery. Okay, so I digress. In those monasteries, during the period of Advent and the period of Lent, it was an ascetic time when you did less eating and less drinking and more prayer and more reflection. Some religious groups took that a little bit overboard, and eventually the church introduced what was called Rejoicing Week. It's the third week of Advent and the fourth week of Lent. The third week of Advent and the fourth week of Lent. Those are times, there's a week-long periods where fasting is not required, not appropriate. That was the way that the Church Universal made sure that the monks and nuns observing an ascetic Advent or an ascetic means eating or drinking in moderation. Those observing an ascetic Lent or an ascetic Advent would certainly get enough to eat at least for that week during both of those time periods. This is a perfect hymn for week 3 of Advent, and so is Prepare the Royal Highway, the one on the facing page. So this is number 25, Rejoice, Rejoice, Believers. It's in the key of A flat, so it has a D flat in it. You have to practice this quite a bit because you'll forget D flat. It's just really easy to forget. Let me see if I can correct that this time. Text also covers all 3 major themes of Advent. In verse 1, Rejoice, rejoice, believers, and let your lights appear. The evening is advancing and darker night is near. The bridegroom is arising and soon is drawing nigh. So that brings us into the sleepers awake theme of Advent. Verse 2 has the watchers on the mountain. The bridegroom again coming near. So that's the wise virgins and the foolish virgins, the 5 who had enough oil and the 5 who didn't have enough oil. The marriage feast is waiting. And then finally in verse 3, it talks about saints and martyrs. So it covers a lot of ground. It's a very useful hymn. I don't know why I never used it in the Lutheran church when I was working for them. I didn't. I neglected this hymn. Now, the one at page 26 is one of my all-time favorites. You'll hear that I'm using a few passing tones in it just to keep the rhythm lively. I want to keep the rhythm as lively as I can, especially during the static holds of the longer notes. Exciting hymn to play. Oh, I love that one. You could probably tell. Okay, Lo He Comes with Clouds Descending is number 27. You can also use this hymn for Ascension, although that sounds pretty bizarre. Lo, He comes with clouds descending. Lo, He comes with clouds descending. Jesus isn't descending on the cloud. That's not what the text is talking about. Lo, he comes with clouds descending. The clouds and he are not related. There's no point in the scripture where Jesus rides down on clouds. Once for favored sinners slain, thousand saints attending swell the triumph of his train. It's actually talking about Jesus coming so that he can then ascend. All right? So that's why you can use it for ascension as well. So here's number 27. Lo, he comes with clouds descending. So I did two different forms of echo. The first echo that I did was a registration echo. I was on a louder plenum and I went to a flute. Okay, that's a registration echo or a keyboard echo. The second echo I did in the second verse was a articulation echo. An articulation echo is when you change the articulation markedly and enough that it's noticeable to the listener. I bet you heard it. I did that on the deeply wailing section. Okay, I'll play you that little bit again one more time. Oh, I'm sorry, it starts here. Now, that was legato. Now here's the articulation echo. Okay, I just made it all what the French call détaché, choppy, marcato. I just lifted my fingers a little bit in between each, and I did that because the difference between this manual and this manual is too great. The difference is too shocking to support the congregation. I'll show you what I mean. It's just too much, so that's why I chose to do an articulation echo there. Okay, Savior of the nations, come. Now, I've thought about playing a different harmonization for you, but that's not going to be faithful to this project. So I will play for you the harmonization of Nun kommt der Heiden Heiland by, let's see, who did this harmonization? It says tune, Johann Walter. But it doesn't, oddly enough, I don't see any credit for this harmonization. Wow. I wish there were somebody to blame for this. Now, in the kindest way possible, I'm going to let you know that I don't like this harmonization at all. It leaves off the E flat that you expect to hear in... You just expect to hear that E flat. Instead, listen to what the editors of this hymnal have given you. That's what's on the page. Okay. I put picardy at the end there. It doesn't call for the picardy, it calls for minor. Okay, so not to slam the hymnal unnecessarily, but oh my gosh. Okay, so listen to that harmonization in a brighter registration at a quicker tempo, and you may see you don't like it either. Sorry, let me start again. See if it gets better on any reeds. No, I have to say it doesn't get better just because I played it on reeds. Let me say, to be a little bit kinder, I'm not sophisticated enough to enjoy that, and I'm not daring enough to put that harmonization in front of my congregation. So I would go with a harmonization from the 82 hymnal, or the old hymnal in the Lutheran Church called the Lutheran hymnal, the LH, the Lutheran hymnal. I would go back to that one. That's the traditional Johann Kruger setting, or maybe it's Hans Leo Hassler, or it could even be Johann Sebastian Bach. But those are the only three I would want you to play: the Kruger, the Handel, the Kruger, the Hans Leo Hassler, or the Johann Sebastian Bach. I would go with one of those three before I went with Vincent Persichetti or whoever did this one. I mean, this one is just, let's just call it too sophisticated for me. It's too sophisticated for me. All right. Now, this is a rollicking good hymn, number 29. I love this one. Comfort, comfort now my people. I need to tell you, that tempo was rushed. If I were doing this for a congregation, it would be breathe, long fermata, breathe. Okay, which brings me to, there's no better indicator for your congregation to breathe than complete silence. And by complete silence, I mean all limbs off the organ. Nothing sustained. Lift it all up. Don't be shy. Just give them a big old breath. All right, here's number 30. Now, number 30, this one has been vexing me a little bit in terms of how do I present this to you guys in a way that I can sell it to you as a moving hymn, as a useful hymn. It says that the text is by Charles Wesley, and then the tune is given as Southern Harmony. So this is going to take just a minute. I'm going to play the melody for you by itself. Here's the melody. I buy that it is Southern Harmony. I can hear that. The tune name is Jefferson, sounds very American. Now, here's the issue. I want to play the harmonization as it's written in the book. As skilled a sight reader as I am, this is not one you want to sight read, and you certainly don't want to try it on a pedal organ without a lot of work. But here it is. The first thing I would do with this particular hymn is I would solo out the melody, play the pedal line as written, and do a free harmonization of the left hand based on the chords that they have given us. And you may or may not like this, but this is what you have to imagine. This is obviously not a pedal harpsichord, a pedal clavier, a pedal organ. It's just a manuals only organ. So I can't show you how the pedals would work. I'll have to fix it this way. I think the congregation can handle that. I think it's a nice hymn. Most people hear this one. That's the one that's in literally every other hymnal in the world, except for the Lutheran Book of Worship. Okay, here's number 31. Now, I'm disappointed that I don't have a Johann Sebastian Bach setting of Wacket auf, ruft uns die Stimme in front of me. Instead, I have some fellow named Philip Nicolai. This is his harmonization of it. It's okay. It's okay. I'll play it for you the way it's written. This is how he said it. Sounds like. Now this is the other option in the book. I would get another hymnal. Almost every other hymnal under the sun is going to have the Johann Sebastian Bach setting. You may have to make some adjustments to the second page because when it starts, the bridegroom comes awake, your lamps with gladness take, Alleluia, prepare yourselves to meet the Lord. That's dramatically different than the Bach setting. So be careful. You'll have to put both of them side by side and make some adjustments in the Bach setting. But I think you'll find the Bach setting a lot more satisfactory to play. Let me play this one again for you one more time. hard for me to sight read this. That's how difficult it is. I wouldn't want to play this on an organ on Sunday unless I had spent a long time working on it in the week prior. For sure. Okay, here's number 32, Fling Wide the Door. This is another gem. A wonderful, wonderful gem. Number 32, Fling Wide the Door. I'll do it in a nice bright setting. Playing that too often in the Lutheran Church if I were using this hymnal. Okay, here's The King Shall Come. This is another Southern Harmony tune. They don't credit it as such. Oh, they call it Kentucky Harmony. Okay, here's the melody. I bet you've heard it. Sorry. Just a note about Southern Harmony, if you harmonize it without the thirds, sometimes, so you play some of the chords and you leave them as open fifths, it will sound even more authentic. So here is The King Shall Come. Third at the end of every one of your hymns. Don't do that. I fell into that rut for a while, but do it on occasion. And do it when you don't want to send them home on a minor note unless it's really, really a dark night, like Tenebrae or Palm Sunday. You know how the Palm Sunday Mass or Palm Sunday service ends with a dramatic character change from the way it started. So sure, send them out on a minor key then, but first of all, I would try not to program a minor hymn at the end of the service anyway for the exit music, for the recessional, if you can avoid it. But if I have to use a minor hymn, then end it with a Picardy third. All right, here's O Come, Emmanuel. I'm going to try this 2 manuals first. That's going to be your parish, your congregation's favorite hymn in Advent season, I betcha. Okay, here's number 35. We only have to get to number 38, so this is almost done. Here's number 35, Hark the Glad Sound. Now, let me tell you just a little bit about this melody. This is called Chesterfield in this particular hymnal common meter, and it is harmonized or attributed to Thomas Howells, it says. Now, I've never heard that before. I know this hymn, I think, as Germany in the Episcopal hymnal, I think? Or does that Take Up Your Cross? Okay, well anyway, Chesterfield's not a tune name that I've ever heard attributed to this. Maybe this is called Hanover. Anyway, I'll check it out when I get to work in the morning. If I need to correct it in the comments, I will. This has a disputed final phrase. In fact, almost every hymnal I've encountered has a different series of intervals in the final phrase. Nobody disagrees with the first several lines. In fact, there's a programmatic sort of sequence. Sequence means a series of notes repeated at a different interval. So here's a sequence. And then just change keys. And then change keys. So a sequence is the same iteration of intervals, but repeated at a different starting pitch. Bach uses it an awful lot. So, and then he goes, right? That's a sequence, the same series of intervals, but at a different starting pitch. So here's how this melody sounds. Listen to this. Very cute, right? But here's the dispute. Okay, I like this ending, but it is different than they have in the 82 hymnal, and it's different in other hymnals that I've seen. So here's Hark the Glad Sound. to go, 36, 37, and 38. 36 is the last one that you'll be familiar with. 37 and 38, I'm willing to bet you've never heard. But here is On Jordan's Bank, the Baptist Cry. This will be the second most liked hymn in the hymnal Oh, Come, O Come Emmanuel, and then On Jordan's Bank the Baptist Cry. Be sure you put those in your 4 weeks of Advent if you're lucky enough to be the one picking the music. In the Lutheran churches that I worked for, the pastor picked the hymns. The pastor picked the hymns. And that's commonplace. They know their hymnal very, very well. They studied it in their seminary, and of course they have this thing Luther invented called the Canto de Tempore. I'm sure he didn't say it in Latin like that. But anyway, the Canto de Tempore is the hymn of the day, and the Canto de Tempore follows the homily, what we Roman Catholics call the homily, you guys call the sermon. So the hymn of the day follows the sermon, and that's why the pastor minimally gets to pick the hymn of the day. I think in my last couple years working for the Lutheran Church, I think they finally gave me enough leash where I was picking the entrance and exit hymns and maybe offertory. Anyway, Lutheran churches are wonderful to work for. I learned to love hymnody in the Lutheran Church. Really learned to love playing organ hymns, because everybody in that parish, everybody in that church was so receptive to the stuff I did. And if I became a little bit avant-garde with what I did, they loved it, they ate it up. I miss that, because that's not the case in the Roman Catholic Church. In the Roman Catholic Church, music has a different role altogether. It generally covers liturgical movements. So the processional hymn covers the liturgical movement. That's completely different than the idea that the processional hymn rouses the congregation to a celebratory level so that they can be on the same page emotionally for the service. I think that's a good way to describe what happens in the Lutheran Church with the entrance hymn. And that's why you're encouraged to do all kinds of crazy stuff with trumpets and just whatever you can, right? The opposite is true in the Roman Catholic Church. But that's okay. That's okay. All right, here's number 36, On Jordan's Banks, the Baptists Cry. Boy, there's 2 different apostrophe S's in that. All right, here we go. Okay, brings me to a little trick. I love doing pentascales. They're just so easy to do. Because you got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do them in the right hand and the left hand. After you've played enough Bach, I really do mean played enough Bach, and you've made it into his harder stuff, it becomes natural for you to want to ornament these hymns in a way that he would have liked, I think. I'm just using little motifs and things that I've gleaned from Nicholas Bruhn's Buxtehude Bach, those Baroque greats. Yeah, just stuff like that. Just stuff like that. Here's number 37. All we have left is 37 and 38. Here is 37. Hold on. Sounds so much better at the end. You know, an open fifth is neither major nor minor. So if you get tired of using picardy thirds all the time, try an open fifth at the end. It will still lift the character of the hymn out of the minor realm. It kind of takes it back a couple centuries, which is kind of nice because this has a very plain chant feel. I kind of love this one. I'm going to use this in the Catholic Church this year, I think. All right, one more time. Wait. 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 Open fifth. Or if you like the minor. All right, either way. Finally, there's only one more. Unfortunately, the Advent section of the LBW ends with two very obscure hymns. They're similar too. You'll see. Here we go. For you. Sorry, let me start that again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this rather rushed recording. I tried to do my best to keep it down to a minimum length. If you enjoyed this, please comment, like, and share. Share this recording, share this video with your Lutheran friends, especially the older baby boomers, right, that you know that are faithful Lutherans, because, you know, maybe they're not getting to church as often and things like that. Maybe they grew up with this hymnal. I know a lot of baby boomers. This hymnal was published in 1978. So that's the one that's going to be in the hands of the traditional baby boomer who is all over Facebook. So they will enjoy this. Forward it if you want. Forward it to your pastors and music directors if you want. If they're Lutheran. If they're not Lutheran, I can't imagine that they'd have a lot of interest in it. But go ahead and do what you like with it. And let me know in the comment section if you think I should continue with the Christmas section, and then the Epiphany section, and then the Lent section, and then Passiontide, and then Easter, and then what we call ordinary time in the Roman Church. I don't even know what they call. I don't think they go to an ordinary time in this thing. Yeah, they go topical. Here's, justification. That we don't even have that in the Catholic Church. That's a Lutheran word, justification. Okay, beginning of service. Okay, anyway, stuff like that. So let me know. If you want to hear the rest of the hymnal played, I can certainly work on it and learn it for you. It's got some real gems in it. Okay, I wish you the very best. God bless you, and thank you for watching this video. There's my grand piano, by the way.